Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever feel like technology is just too much to handle, like it's stressing you out and making you feel out of control? Well, this new study dives into exactly that, and it has some surprising findings about how nature might be our secret weapon against this modern-day tech overload. We all live in a world that's increasingly digital. Our phones, our computers, our smart devices, they're everywhere. And while they make life easier in many ways, they can also be a big source of stress. This stress, called Technostress, happens when technology doesn't work properly or when we feel like we're losing control over it. Imagine your internet cutting out right before a deadline, or a website constantly crashing. That's Technostress. And what's particularly interesting is how this stress can mess with our sense of agency, which is basically how much we feel like we're in control of our actions and their outcomes. So the big question this study wanted to answer was, can spending time in nature help us deal with this technostress, especially when we're feeling a lack of control? They brought in 52 healthy adults and split them into two groups. One group went for walks in a beautiful green park, a place with lots of nature. The other group went for walks in a gray, urban environment, think buildings and lots of concrete. This happened over 2 days. Before and after their walks each day, everyone did a special task on a computer. This task was designed to create that technostress we talked about. It involved a word game, but with challenges. Sometimes the computer would simulate malfunctions, like a pop-up message saying you're not doing well, or that you're too slow. This was the high-stress part. On top of that, they played with something called agency. In some parts of the game, if you picked your word correctly, a picture related to your choice would appear. But in other parts, even if you picked correctly, a picture related to a different word you didn't pick would show up. They told participants this picture was chosen by someone else, making it feel like your choice didn't really matter for that outcome. This was the low agency condition. So they had 4 types of task conditions: high stress with high agency, high stress with low agency, low stress with high agency, and low stress with low agency. They measured how accurate people were in the game, how stressed they felt, and also used some cool technology called thermal infrared imaging. This is like a special camera that can see heat, and they used it to measure tiny changes in people's facial temperature, especially around the nose and mouth. The idea is that these temperature changes can reflect how our autonomic nervous system, the part of our body that controls automatic functions like stress responses, is reacting. They also looked at heart rate variability, which is another way to measure stress. Now, for the interesting part, the results. First off, the task definitely worked. When the game was stressful, people made more mistakes and reported feeling more stressed. This was true for both groups before any walks. Scroll for task performance accuracy. A robust main effect of stress emerged, indicating that participants were less accurate in stressful than non-stressful task runs. Center but Harris, where the environment made a difference. After the nature walk, something interesting happened with how people felt. Specifically, the group that walked in the green park reported feeling less stressed after their walks, especially when the game was stressful, and they had low agency, that is, they felt less in control. This reduction in feeling stressed was significant in the green group, but it didn't happen in the group that walked in the gray urban environment. Now, let's talk about that facial temperature. This is where it gets really fascinating. The thermal imaging showed that the green environment seemed to calm down some of the physiological stress responses. When people were experiencing high stress and importantly high agency in the task after walking in the green park, their facial temperature readings, particularly in the nose tip and around the mouth areas, were lower compared to the gray group. This suggests that nature exposure helped regulate their physical stress response. The gray environment, on the other hand, didn't seem to have this calming effect. Interestingly, heart rate variability, which is another common stress measure, didn't show such clear differences between the groups. This might mean that for this kind of moderate technostress, facial temperature changes are more sensitive indicators of what's happening than heart rate alone. So, what does it all mean? The researchers found that spending a short amount of time walking in a natural green environment can actually help reduce how stressed we feel when dealing with technology, especially when that technology makes us feel a lack of control. It also seems to calm down some of our body's physical stress signals shown by those facial temperature changes. One of the most interesting results was that changes in how much people felt they had agency, meaning their sense of control, were linked differently to their facial temperature depending on the environment. In the gray environment, when people felt more in control during stressful moments, their facial temperature went up more. But in the green environment, this link was weaker, suggesting nature might help us decouple our feelings of control from our physical stress reactions. Now, it's important to know the limitations. The groups were mostly similar before the study, but the green group happened to find their everyday environments a bit more fascinating to begin with. So while the nature walks likely played a big role, some of the effects might be partly due to people who already appreciate nature a bit more. Also, conducting studies outdoors means you have less perfect control over things like light or sound compared to a lab. And while the heart rate data wasn't super clear, the thermal imaging and subjective stress measures definitely pointed towards nature's benefits. So what's the takeaway in our increasingly tech-filled lives? A dose of nature might be more than just a nice break. It could be a crucial tool for managing Technostress and helping us feel more in control. Even short walks in a park could be a powerful way to build resilience against the constant demands of our digital world. This research opens up exciting possibilities for how we design our cities and our workspaces, suggesting that integrating green spaces isn't just about aesthetics, but about our mental and physiological well-being in the face of modern challenges. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the best way to deal with the machine is to step away and embrace the green. What do you think about these findings? Have you noticed nature helping you de-stress from technology? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this breakdown helpful, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab for more science simplified, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration into the human mind. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.